Hi guys. So what we are going to do today is we're going to talk about solving two-step equations. So in the last section, we talked about one-step equations. So we're going to be doing the exact same thing as before. We're using those same properties of equality and inverse operations, but we're going to be using two steps instead of one this time. Okay? So what I want to do is we're just going to go over a couple of examples, and it's going to give you basically everything that you need to know. Okay, so let's just do this in red just to be fun. Again, please take notes. It's really important that you're taking notes. It's also a grade, and it's also how you learn. So here we go. What is the solution of 2x plus 3 equals 15? So here we go. As you can see, our x is on the left-hand side, right? It's actually attached to this 2, and then we have a plus 3. So there's two things that we need to move. We need to move this 2, and we need to move this 3 to get that x alone. Now, the way that I like to think about it is we want to move the thing that's furthest from the x first, which is going to be the 3, because the 2 is right next to it. So I'm just going to rewrite, whoa, I don't like that. So I'm just going to rewrite this equation, 2x plus 3 equals 15 over here. Now we said we wanted to move this 3 first. I see addition, which means that I need to do the inverse operation, which is subtraction. And again, I only need to do it one time on the left and one time on the right. Okay? So I'm going to bring this 2x down. I didn't do anything to it yet. 3 minus 3 is 0, so I'm just left with 2x. That's why we did the inverse operation. And now we have 15 minus 3, which is 12. Okay? Now the last thing I need to do, I see a 2 right next to this x. That really means multiplication. So in order to reverse that, to get that 2 away, we want to do the inverse operation, which is divide. 2 divided by 2 is 1, which is exactly what I want. And then I'm left with 12 divided by 2. This then gives me that x equals 12 divided by 2, which is 6. Okay? Now again, we always want to plug back into the original equation just to check it. So let's just check quickly over here on the right. We have 2 times x, our x is 6, and we want to make sure of it, plus 3, and we want to see if that equals 15. 2 times 6 is 12, plus 3 is 15. And it is true. 12 plus 3 is 15. So we are good. Okay? Now, I want you guys to try one on your own. You can either pause the video, write it down, or do it afterwards, but I'm going to do this in a separate color just so it looks different for you guys. So I want you to try this one on your own. It's going to be 5 equals t divided by 2 minus 3. Okay? The goal is to get that t alone. I would suggest moving this 3 first, and you guys can take it from there. You're either pausing or you're moving on with me. So I'm going to hide all of this. Whoops, not that. And I'm going to figure out our example 2. Okay? So our second example here is a word problem. So let's go over this problem and highlight all of the necessary information. So the situation is that you're creating a bulletin board and it's going to be advertising job opportunities. Now, you plan to use a half a sheet of construction paper. Let's get my pen out. You want to use half a sheet of construction paper per job, for each job, okay? You need 5 sheets for your title, and you have 18 sheets total. And you want to know how many jobs you can post on the board. So the first thing that I want to write down is my variable. What are we trying to find? We're trying to find how many jobs, right? So I'm going to indicate my variable as j, which is the number of jobs that we're posting, okay? So let's take a look at this. We have 18 sheets total, so I'm going to draw a little picture. So we have 18 sheets total, right? This is our total. We already know that 5 are being used for a title page, correct? So we're using 5 sheets over here, and we want to figure out what's left over that adds up to 18. So I know that it has to have to do something with J. So let's think about this. This line right up here says that you plan to use a half a sheet of construction paper for each job. So that means if I'm posting one job, I'm using a half a sheet of construction paper. If I'm using 2 jobs, I'm only using 1 sheet of construction paper. If I'm posting 4 jobs, I'm only using half of that, right? I'm using 2 sheets of construction paper. So the sheets of construction paper is going to be half of however many jobs that we're posting. So we're going to turn this into an equation, and we're going to solve and find out how many jobs we can post. So I kind of wrote it out already right here. We know that 5 plus this 1/2 j has to equal 18 total sheets, right? So let's take it away from here. I want to get this j alone. I have this 1/2 right next to it, and then I have this 5 off to the left. Now we want to deal with the furthest thing first. So we want to deal with this 5. Now if there's nothing written in front, we know that it's positive. So in order to move it to the other side, we want to subtract from the left and then from the right. So I'm left with 1/2 j equals 18 minus 5, which gives me 13. Okay? Now, we talked about this last section, where when you have a coefficient in front of your j, that's a fraction. The way that we get rid of that is by something called the reciprocal. So the reciprocal is just your fraction flipped upside down, and that makes it go away and turns it into 1. So that's exactly what we want to do right now. And these are gone. And I have to do the same thing over here. Now I could imagine that this 13 is over 1 also. So I'm just going to move this over. These cancel out, and I'm just left with 1j, which is j. And that's going to equal 13 times 2, which is 26, over 1 times 1, which is 1. So j is 26. So that means that using those full 18 sheets of paper, I'm using the 5 for the title, and then left over, I can post 26 jobs on that bulletin board. Now, I'm going to challenge you to check that. I don't have any room on my paper, but it's really important to check every single question. Okay? Nice job, guys. We have 2 more left. Let us hide. Oops. Where are we? All right. Awesome. So, example 3. What's the solution of x minus 7 over 3? I'm just going to add another layer in so I can write. Let's do this in green. And we are off. Okay. So, as you can see here, guys, we have this 3 in the denominator, and we have x minus 7 in the numerator. Now, this gets a little bit confusing because it's all kind of together. So we want to think of this as 1 unit on top in the numerator. So in order to get this x alone, we need to get this 7 away, but first we need to get the 3 away. So again, I'm just going to rewrite this over here. Now, the 3 is being divided, right? So in order to get rid of that, we want to use the inverse operation of division, which is multiplication, and we want to multiply by 3 on both sides. So I'm left with x minus 7 equals negative 12 times 3. I get negative 36. Okay? So in order to get this negative 7 to the other side, I'm going to do the inverse operation of subtraction, and I want to add this 7 to both sides. Adding 7 to both sides. So I'm left with x equals. Now, this situation right here, I have a large number that's in the negative, and I'm adding more on. So the way that I like to think of this is, if I owe you $36, I'm in debt $36, and I pay you back $7. I'm still in debt, but I'm in debt less. I'm in debt 7 less than that 36. So I'm in debt 29. Okay? We are going to check this together. We're going to plug in this negative 29 into our original equation to see if we're correct. So we have negative 29 minus 7 over 3, and we want to see if that equals negative 12. So the first thing I'm going to do is simplify my numerator. Negative 29 minus 7. This is that I owe you $29, and I owe you another $7. So total, I owe you $36. Now, negative 36 divided by 3, I get my negative 12. So we are good. Okay? Now, I want you guys to try one on your own. I'm going to write this down for you. Let's see. Actually, I don't. Yeah, I do actually. Okay, so here's your problem to try on your own. You get 6 equals x minus 2 over 4. We're going to do it the same way, okay? So make sure that you deal with this 4 before you deal with this 2. Okay? One more problem for you guys, all right? Let me get rid of all this. Get rid of it, get rid of it. One more, okay? What is the solution of negative t plus 8 equals 3? All right, awesome. So I'm going to dissect what this negative t actually means, okay? That negative t actually means that I have a negative number in front of the t. Now, if there's no number, I know that we can always write it as 1. So I have a negative 1t plus 8 equals 3. Now, again, I want to get this t alone. So in order to do that, I need to get rid of the negative 1, and I also need to get rid of the 8. In order to do that, I want to do the furthest one first. So I'm going to do the inverse operation of positive 8, which is subtraction. Minus 8 from both sides. I'm left with negative 1t equals 3 minus 8. $3, and you take away 8, you're in debt 5. Okay? Now, in order to get this negative 1 gone, I can see that the negative 1 and the t are sandwiched together through multiplication. You can imagine a little multiplication sign. So in order to undo that, we want to do the inverse operation, which is division. They cancel. Divide by negative 1, and I'm left with t equals negative 5 divided by negative 1 is a positive 5. Okay? Let's check this real fast. I'm going to just do it over here on the left. Okay, I get negative t, which is 5, plus 8 equals 3. Okay, so negative times 5. Negative 1 times 5 is negative 5, plus 8 equals 3. This says I'm in debt $5. I paid you back 8. If I do that, I'm now up 3. And we are good. Okay? Please, please, please write down 2 questions that you have about this section. It could be about the problems that we didn't get to. It could be just about something that I said that I need to make clear in class. So please do that. Thanks a lot, guys.